Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's coping in the restrictions if you find yourself in the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever ridiculous restriction you've been placed under. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's coping. If you made it through the last two videos, what is about 45 minutes worth, then thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. It's been very difficult to film, I have got to say. Like, people have asked me, people kind of asked me quite a few questions about what it's been like talking about this whole kind of thing, and it is very difficult. It isn't easy. It's a horrible conversation to have. It's just not nice. It's not nice to listen to, it's not nice to talk about, it's not pleasant, but it is a conversation and it is something that needs to be said, and it all needs to be talked about and all needs to be in the air, because only then can we actually start dealing with it. I mean, there are obviously still people out there that cast a doubt about mental health, and it's such a broad subject. There's so many different areas of mental health, there's so many different types of mental health, there's so many things that people can struggle with, that it is so broad, and I am only really covering a very, very small part of it, and that is my own personal experience in depression and anxiety. But if you are suffering in any other way, don't feel like you're by yourself, because I'm sure that there is somebody out there with a very similar issue. But one thing we do need to remember, as I've said plenty of times, we are all unique. We all have different personalities. We all have different circumstances. We all have different situations happening around us and environments. And we all go through slightly different things, but might be under the same cloud, might be under the same bracket, and you might be able to group together. You might be able to help out each other. There are always ways to connect, I think, is the ultimate bottom of line about that bit of a ramble. But I wanted to base this video very much around what I've done to cope and what I've done to counteract whenever I've had a slightly bad issue of anxiety or depression. I want to talk through my kind of techniques and what I do if I'm feeling any particular way. I do like to stress, as I always do, as I have done in the past two videos, that this is very much to do with me. This is very much what I've done and what sometimes doesn't work for me. So if these don't work for you, and if you feel like you're trying them, then it's not in the world, but there's always something out there that you will be able to connect with, that you will be able to adopt, and kind of will be able to help you out. I'll talk through how it affects me, and like these different techniques and how they affect me, and how that ultimately helps me to calm down and effectively take control, which will be a very common theme in this video. This video will be about taking control and how I've managed to do that, because I think that is one of the most difficult things when you are going through mental health. It is the feeling of being out of control, and it is the feeling of feel like you're in a cyclone, or you're in a whirlwind, and you have no idea which way is up, which way is down, left, right, sideways, whatever, diagonal. You just don't feel in control, and I think that ultimately is very strong for me anyway. Whether people are similar in that way, then you're not alone. You're not alone. I'm there as well. But yeah, we'll go into it then. So whenever I'm feeling whenever I'm in a different environment, or could be familiar, whenever I'm at home, whenever I'm at a friend's house, whenever I'm at a party, I need to always determine myself a safe space. I need to always find somewhere where I know where everything is, so for example, I use my bedroom. So for my bedroom, I know where certain pictures are that might put me that might remind me of a good memory. I know my TV is, my Xbox is, so my Xbox is always in the corner, which is right now downloading FIFA, I think, as we speak. So that'll be more rage. So that'll probably stress me out a bit more, but oh well. It's always about surrounding yourself with a familiar setting, and making sure it's a setting that you know for a fact that you're comfortable in, that you know for a fact you've had positive experiences in there, so that it can ultimately help bring back that sense of familiarity and that sense of calm into what is a very much mad and upsetting moment. So that's the first step. The first step, as I say, finding somewhere comfortable, familiar, and you know where everything is. And if you go there, then it's not going to seem like a stranger's place. It's going to feel like your place. And if I was, so I'm sticking with the same theme, so if I was going through an anxiety attack or a panic attack, I would then start to try and slow myself down. I try and start to slow my breathing down, and that ultimately slows my heart rate down, that slows my brain down. It just makes me really go into like a slow motion state where, but I mean, it sounds like you're kind of numbing yourself out, but it's not what you're doing. What you're doing is you are giving yourself space to think, and you're giving yourself space to work out what exactly this is and what the issue is right now, what's going through your head, what your next step would be need to do, because it's very much, I feel like the next step that I'll go through is a very personal step, so it is something that you yourself have to put into effect. But so I'll go into how I slow myself down. So it's the simplest thing in the world, and 9 people out of 10 will do this on a regular day anyway. It's really easy, but it's counting. You just count. It's like really, really slow counting. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then those counts of 4. You breathe it in. So you just really slow counting. Breathe in for 4, and then you breathe out for 3 after holding that breath for like half a second, and you just do that over and over again. And the beauty about that one is that it works no matter where you are. It's beautiful. It works. It can work over the phone, as me and my sister from Australia have proven on numerous occasions that it works an absolute flimming treat, and you can talk anybody through it, and it's great. But so that's the next step. So you need to just slow you down, slow everything down, get control. That's what you're doing. You're getting control. So you get control of what's going on around you. You get control of your breathing. You get control of your heart rate. You get control of your thoughts in your head. And ultimately, it just gives you that space to think. Now, how you want to go about trying to get yourself to think, how you want to try and get yourself to think about what's going on in your head, about what you need to do next. For me, I have several techniques and several little things that I might bring into the play. So I'm very much reliant on music. Music is my very much number one thing in the world. I mean, sorry, babe. Sorry, babe. Saying sorry to my girlfriend there because she might not like that, but funny. Not talk. No, I'm only joking. So music is fantastic, and as I say, everyone's different. But my thing with music is that I can very easily link it to a certain part of my life, and I can very easily link it to a very happy memory in my life. And I have about 7 playlists that all have unique meaning and all have a certain setting to fit. So if I have to use a song, for example, Angels, Robbie Williams reminds me of driving down to Wales with a family, and it reminds me of certain roads and certain country roads. It reminds me of a really heavy dip in the road where it's that feeling when you're on a roller coaster when your stomach just feels like you're going into your chest, and you almost feel like a bit queasy. It reminds me of that, and it really is just a very relaxed setting that it makes me think of. Tracy Chapman, Fast Car is another song that reminds me of that. If I want to relay back to a couple of family weddings, I have certain Christina Perri songs. Very soppy, I know, but it works, and it brings back a happy memory. So as long as that's the case, it doesn't matter. So yeah, it really is a good trick for me. I know that doesn't work for some people, because I know quite a few people that look at me and think, what the hell are you doing? But it genuinely just works. But the whole trick that it's doing is that it is reminding me of a happy setting, and it's helping me think about myself in that setting, and it's helping me think like almost like kind of envisage that around me. So with the wedding that I talked about, it helps me envisage a really hot setting, blue sky, green grass, sweating horrendously in a tux, but it is bliss, and it calms me down, and it lets me get that control, and then I can go on to work out what's going on. But they are ultimately the 3 steps, and that 3rd step could be anything. It could be you whack a film on, you whack some telly on, you read a book, you start drawing, painting, writing a poem, it could be anything, but as long as it just gives you that ultimate little bit of peace of mind, that ultimate little good memory, and then it, like, for me, it works a treat. So if people want to use those kind of 3 steps, if you want to try that out, as I say, everyone's unique, everyone's different. That's why the 1st step is so personal. It's because it fits so many different things, and it's just up to that one person. So with me, for music, for you, it could be anything. But I also want to kind of touch on this video kind of like very much more techniques that I've learned off help through therapy, especially through the help that I received in Manchester that I've talked about in the schema therapy. And one of those is getting your senses in touch and getting your senses in order. And when I talk about senses, I mean your sight, your hearing. So one of the things that you sometimes feel when you're feeling a bit of depression waving on, or if you're feeling like anxiety, it works for anxiety as well, I've often found, is that sometimes you feel very out of body. You feel like you're up there 10 feet in the air, a bit of a ghost, looking down on yourself, and it's very peculiar. But it's almost like if you've seen the film Ghost with Ricky Gervais, and he kind of has a sense. Oh no, maybe there's a better example. So Paranormal Activity 2 went a very different turn. I apologise. But when the baby is kind of aware that there's this kind of thing watching him, and just like often see like the baby in the corner, like looking into the top corner of the room, and it's very aware that like this kind of demon is watching him. It's almost like that. Obviously not as sinister, thankfully. I'm not really sure I'd be keen on that one happening. But yeah, it very much is like that. It is very much that you're very much aware that something's going on, and you just feel so out of body. You feel like that either you or something is watching down on you. And you ultimately have to ground yourself. You ultimately have to bring yourself back into existence, kind of, and you need to. And it's only then that you can really start to tackle the issue, and that's when you might go to the 3 steps that I talked about, calming yourself down, the counting, all that kind of stuff. So one of the ways that I got taught to do is just to recognise everything around you. So you pick something, you see it, you describe it. So got a golf glove, so it's white, black marks, blue, says Stu Bart on it, got green on it. Like I talk to myself and I describe what it is, and I engage with it, and then I might touch it. So I might feel it. So it feels like rubber. I can feel the Velcro underneath. This Velcro is quite prickly. It's very soft as well. The other part of it that actually sticks on. And then you think about what you might be able to hear. So I can hear my Xbox going off, with the fan going a million miles an hour, trying to keep it cool. Hopefully I can afford the next Xbox, fingers crossed. So I don't have to hear that every time. I can hear the Velcro going as I change it. Then I think, what can I smell? So I've got a pastry next to me, in the cupboard. Then I can very vaguely smell. And then obviously you go into a lot more detail than what I've done. I've tried to make a very, very brief version of it. But ultimately, that is about grounding yourself. It's about bringing yourself back to earth and bringing yourself back to and in touch with physical objects and whatever's around you. Think about your seat, think about how comfy it is, press the cushions, you just need to engage with the world around you. And ultimately that might be able to bring you down to earth, and then you'd kick on and you'd be able to take the matter of hand and hopefully deal with whatever is affecting you. But the other one that I've often found is quite useful, which is very similar to the third step with my music, is a kind of like sense of meditation. And I'm not talking about full on, singing and go like that. I mean, I'm not talking about that side of things that you might see in the films. There's a guy floating. And no, I'm talking about just imagining yourself being in a happy place and bringing that place to you. So as I say, very similar to what I've already described with the music, where the music will help me to take me to a place that you think of somewhere in your mind that you find very peaceful. It could be somewhere you've been, it could be somewhere you've seen on telly, it could be somewhere you've seen in a magazine, or it could be something that you've seen in Hayes Travel. I almost said Thomas Cook then. I'm sorry, Thomas Cook. It could be off anything, but ultimately it needs to give you that sense of calm and tranquil. And what you need to do, you need to see it. You need to close your eyes. You need to see it. So, for example, I could use like a really simple beach and a really peaceful beach, and if you can close your eyes and you can see the sand, you can see the dunes behind you, and you can hear the waves crashing in, and you can hear the seagulls going at it and trying to find any scrap of bread like they always do, and nicking a bag of Walker's crisps out of corner shop in Blackpool, that kind of thing. But you ultimately need to get, it's very something, you need to get your senses in touch. You need to, and you need to feel like you're there. You need to feel like you can feel the sand. You need to feel like you can hear the waves. You need to feel like you can hear the seagulls, as I say. You need to feel the wind, and like if you need to just imagine. And all these things take lots of practice, and they really do take practice. Some of them might need practice in what's happening, which is not very nice to look at it, but ultimately it's only then that you know it works. It's only then that you know that it actually does calm you down. That's what I've often found anyway. As I say, I want to maintain everybody's very different. Everyone's unique. Everyone has their own circumstances. Everyone has their own environment. Everyone has their own being. So if this doesn't work, I'm sorry, but there will be something out there that will work. That will work for you. But I'm going to say the very last thing, which I stressed in the last video. I absolutely nailed it in for like 5-10 minutes. It's conversation. It's communicating. If you sit there in silence, and if you suffer in silence, which I have done on so many times, and I was with my mum yesterday, and we were talking about these videos, and I was saying, we agreed that my biggest mistake, my biggest weakness was not communicating. It was just sitting there by myself and suffering by myself when I could have had help, and I could have been able to counteract this. And a conversation really does, possibly more than all these things that I've mentioned. It does more than all these things I've mentioned. And the beauty about a conversation, it is relatable to anything, and it's any issue. A conversation helps so much, because what it does, it lets other people recognize what's going on. And that's what ultimately these videos are about. These videos are about people recognizing what one of those issues in the world is and what's going on in some people's heads. And I can't stress enough how important communication is. And I said in the last video, a conversation is not talking verbally to another person all the time. It is not. There might be cynics out there, and factually, by the dictionary thesaurus, I don't care, that they might say I'm completely wrong, but I am convinced that a conversation is a way of communication between more than one party to get a point across. And if you can indicate what's going on in your head, if you can just indicate to one person, it doesn't matter who that is. It could be anybody. I mean, it doesn't need to be a member of family. It doesn't need to be a friend. It doesn't need to be someone close to you. It just needs to be, it could be a random person in the street. It just could be anybody. The ultimate point is reaching out and not suffering alone. And ultimately that could help save yours or someone's life. And that is the ultimate goal. I mean, the ultimate goal is to help people around, especially in this current climate, especially in this current time. It really is to help people. And I've had people try to help me, but I blocked it out, and I didn't let them, and that will forever be one of my biggest mistakes. And I will look back over the past few years and just I'll think to myself, what a moron, because it just opens up the issue. And a conversation about mental health is horrible, and I'll say it again, a conversation about mental health is vile. It's not nice. No one finds it comfortable. It's just not one of those things. I think even professionals might find it uncomfortable to talk about, but it's a conversation that needs to be had, and I can't stress that enough. And if I can help anybody, if I've managed to push anybody in the right direction, if I've managed to push anybody to reach out, then ultimately that is my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal with these videos is to help. It is to really help and try and educate as much as possible, because it is very much still a taboo subject, and it's talked about, as I've said in the first video, it's talked about, which is great, and that's progression. That is a lot of progression since a few years ago, but just a few years ago, man, as well. But it's not enough. It's really not enough. It's still it's still very difficult to talk about, and it's not nice. And I am fortunate in myself that I had a support network that really I managed to engage with and ultimately saved my life. And that's what I want to encourage people to gain. That's what I want to encourage people to get. If they are suffering, don't suffer in silence. I had an uncle who really, I don't think he realises how much just his phone calls help me. I don't think he realised how just his text asking how's all, if life's normal. I don't think there are plenty of people like that I have to thank, and I don't think I could actually go around each person and thank them, because it'd take me 5 years. I wouldn't mind spending 5 years on that, but there's a support network out there for everybody. You might not know them right now, but there's always a support network waiting to help. And I will put phone numbers in the description of this video on YouTube. I'll put phone numbers in the status on Facebook, in the tweet on Twitter. If anybody needs to call somebody, I urge you to call one of those numbers. And they are full of fantastic professionals, and they know how to help, and they know how to talk to you. And they deal with this on a daily basis, because there are so many people out there going through a mental health crisis, and that is the dark truth. And we talk about the coronavirus pandemic, which is awful, and what people have gone through. I can't even begin to imagine. My serious condolences and my thoughts with everybody that's suffered with coronavirus and with the COVID-19 pandemic. But unfortunately in this world, it's not the only pandemic going on, as this mental health pandemic increases, with restrictions increasing, and the world going on tighter lockdown as things slowly pick up again. And I urge people to not suffer in silence. There's always someone out there to talk to, no matter how you feel, no matter what you think, no matter how much you think you're alone. I urge you that there is always someone out there to talk to. And someone will listen, and someone will put the time aside to help. I mean, if anybody wants to try and get in touch with me, then, as I say, I'm sat here on my Xbox most of the time. I'll take the dogs out for a walk half an hour, and that is my life right now until I start work again. So I, among thousands of other people, will always put time aside to talk to somebody who's having a difficult time, who's struggling. And I urge, if you are having a difficult time, I urge you to reach out. And nobody has to suffer alone. Nobody has to suffer in silence. And I would like to leave it there. And as I say, I will leave phone numbers attached to this video. If anybody wants to reach out, then please give one of those phone numbers a ring. As I say, they are full of fantastic professionals who know how to deal with these situations. No matter what you're going through. It could be what I've talked about. It could be something completely different. Someone will be there to help. In fact, I would like to just add a very cringy note, but it's a song lyric that has stuck with me quite a lot. Actually, it's a song that I encourage people to go and listen to, because it has a very strong message about it. Actually, it's part of a Broadway musical, Evan Hansen. And the song is "You Will Be Found," and it has an incredible message, but the song title alone is enough. And "You Will Be Found" is really something to drill into someone's head. It ultimately gives you that hope, and it gave me that hope, and it made me realise that I will be found, and it made me realise that I won't suffer in silence, and I won't suffer alone. And to all those people who have helped me over the years, I can't thank you enough. That goes to the lads who I've known for years, it goes to the family, it goes to my uncle, it goes to my cousins, it goes to so many people. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening and watching this video, and I will love you and leave you. Take care. Bye.